The director released his grip, his expression one of horror as he saw his hand burning. In a panic, he immediately looked for a fire extinguisher and called for medical assistance to treat his wound. Seeing the director's burned hand, the doctor, who was already on the scene, looked puzzled. Turning to Yiwu, he asked, "What did you do? How did the director's hand get burned like that?" Admitting his actions, Yiwu explained that it was an act of retaliation against the director for harming his family. As a form of compensation, he then offered an additional 10,000 yuan for the director's medical expenses. Next, Yiwu handed the doctor a card with a balance of 310,000 yuan, asking him to continue treating his family. The doctor reassured Yiwu, saying that the hospital was reputable and that his family would receive the best care possible. Feeling a deep sense of gratitude, Yiwu thanked the doctor for giving him a chance to gather the money. As the doctor prepared to leave the room, he smiled warmly and said that helping was his duty, and there was no need for thanks. In his mind, he thought, this Yiwu is a very intriguing young man. Beyond his extraordinary self-healing abilities, he also managed to gather 310,000 yuan in such a short time. Turning his attention to his sister, Yunfei, who looked guilt-ridden about the recent events, Yiwu approached her. "I'm sorry, brother. I felt like I was failing to protect our parents. If I hadn't been in such a weakened state, maybe I could have done something more. I'm just so relieved you arrived in time," she said, her voice shaking. Seeing the sadness etched on Yunfei's face, Yiwu gently placed his hand on his sister's head and whispered, "Don't blame yourself. Truthfully, I also feel guilty for not arriving sooner." That Yunfei mentioned her disappointment about not being able to participate in the Academy's dungeon competition the next day. She had been nurturing hopes of winning the prize to help with the family's financial woes, but now those hopes were dashed. Curious upon hearing about the dungeon competition, Yiwu asked Yunfei, "I heard the prize bonus is very high this year, is that true?" Yunfei replied, "Yes, that's correct. Rumors suggest that this year's prize will start at 500,000 yuan. 500,000. Yiwu exclaimed, visibly delighted upon hearing about the substantial bonus. Spotting an opportunity, Yiwu told her to focus on her recovery and leave the financial matters to him. He made up his mind to enter the competition, aiming to secure the prize for the family. The next day, the atmosphere at the academy was lively. Students gathered in anticipation, their excitement palpable as they awaited the annual competition that took place only once a year. The principal stood proudly on the stage, greeting the students enthusiastically at the Academy's annual competition event. News about a massive bonus had already spread and was the talk of the entire Academy. "What you've heard is true," he exclaimed. "Our starting bonus this year is 500,000, and as you complete levels, additional bonuses will be added with no limit." Next, the principal revealed the reason for the massive bonus. "This is all thanks to our sponsor from the Hanmo Group for this Academy competition," he continued, prompting applause from the students for Ms. Mo. "Let's give a round of applause to Ms. Mo and say thank you." Cheers and praises filled the air as the students' eyes were on Ms. Mo, who had already taken the stage with her personal bodyguards. "She's so beautiful. That dazzling light. My heart melts just looking at her," some students exclaimed. The principal then announced that the winner of the competition would have a chance to directly join the Hanmo Group, specifically their rating team. This news elevated the students' excitement even further. The Hanmo rating team. Isn't that a top 10 team on the dungeon score list? Damn, this is more than just a bonus, this is a priceless opportunity. Joining Hanmo Group is like walking towards the peak of life, another student commented. However, a different perspective was shown by Yiwu, who seemed to be lost in deep thought. He had long heard how fierce the competition was among the major teams. Is this elder miss in a rush to scout new talents from the academy? He questioned inwardly. Interestingly, Yiwu didn't seem captivated by the glamour and opportunities. He was only interested in the cash prize, having no ambition to join the Hanmo Group. The principal then enthusiastically announced, for this year's competition, the chosen dungeon is the Shadow Forest, inhabited by level 5 to 10 monsters. The students looked shocked. Their surprised whispers reverberated in the morning air. The Shadow Forest. That dungeon is the Academy's greatest challenge, an obstacle that so far no one has managed to conquer. Behind the mystical bushes of the forest lurk cold-blooded monsters of at least level 5, and in the depths of the forest, a level 10 boss awaits. Is this a challenge or a death sentence, considering the average level of the students is just 5? Unfazed by their shocked looks, the principal continued his announcement. The final boss of that dungeon is a level 10 Shadow Dryad. A frightening image of the giant monster appeared, its silhouette sending waves of both fear and awe through the crowd. "Look at that. That's a level 10 elite monster," screamed a student with a mixed tone of fear and awe. I know. There's no way the academy would offer this grand opportunity for no reason. Amidst the crowd of students, Yiwu remained calm. A level 10 shadow drive yet? Are you sure you didn't send me the money? He thought to himself. Although his visible level was low, only level 3. His connection with the account Emperor Qian had elevated him to level 12, and he felt no difficulty in facing a level 10 elite monster. Addressing the wave of concern sweeping the students, the principal tried to reassure them. Don't worry, the dungeon is difficult, but there are 2 modes you can choose from, PvP and PvE. He elaborated on player versus player, and player versus environment battles within the dungeon. In other words, this competition allows you to form teams of up to 5 people. He added. A cheer broke the morning silence. With teams, they had a better chance to defeat the level 10 shadow drive yet. However, they would also have to watch out for other teams, as the war was not just against monsters, but also between teams. So, how do we determine the winners in this team event? A student asked the principal. In response to confusion about how the winner would be determined, the principal added, you will have to gather individual points by defeating monsters and other teams. Furthermore, if you manage to defeat the Shadow Dryad, the points will be evenly distributed among team members. The students were greatly surprised, feeling this was too brutal and essentially encouraged a kill or be killed mentality for gaining more points. Finally, the principal announced that the competition had officially begun. The portal to the Dungeon of Shadow Forest was now open for all participants. Immediately after the announcement, the atmosphere was filled with shouts and conversations among the students. They began forming teams, seeking and recruiting solid members to enhance their chances of winning this year's dungeon competition. However, Yiwu faced ridicule from several students who were in the process of recruiting team members. Why is there a level 3 guy here? Is that him, the legendary guy who can't level up? He shouldn't even be here, they exclaimed, adding, be careful. Make sure he doesn't want to join our team. Unfazed by their comments, Yiwu chose not to respond to the insults. With a flat expression on his face, he walked away from them. In his mind, he thought, don't worry. Even if you beg me, I won't join your team. It's easier to move alone than to carry extra weight. Not long after, he arrived at the registration area. A female teacher was standing there, waiting for participants to come and register. Teacher, I would like to register, he said, raising his hand to get her attention. She turned around and looked confused upon seeing him alone. What about your team members? She asked with a puzzled expression. It's just me, he replied seriously. Please go ahead and register my name. The teacher then stepped closer to Yiwu and advised him, you're only level 3. It's going to be extremely dangerous to go alone. Please think this through carefully. Just then, Luo Feng appeared behind him and interrupted the conversation. You don't need to worry about him, just let him go off and die. He's a non-upgradable waste. His life is just a waste of air, Luo Feng snidely commented. Yiwu turned around and said, Luo Feng, why is it always you? Subsequently, Luo Feng placed his hand on Yiwu's shoulder and made an offer. How about you join my team? But you'll have to roll on the ground and learn 2 dog barks. How about it? With a flat and innocent expression, Yiwu turned and asked, how does a dog bark? Luo Feng quickly responded, of course, it's woof woof. Realizing he had been played, Luo Feng stood there, mouth agape, while Yiwu struggled to hold back his laughter. Feeling mocked, Luo Feng clenched his fists and lunged at Yiwu, shouting, how dare you? Do you want me to kill you? Quickly, the teacher stood in front of Yiwu, raising her hand towards Luo Feng and commanding, stop. If you want to fight, do it in the dungeon. There are no points to be gained here. With the teacher stepping in, Luo Feng restrained himself from attacking further. He then turned and walked away, but not before throwing a menacing look back at Yiwu. Don't run. I'll be waiting for you in the dungeon. After that, the teacher finally registered him as a one-person team but warned, while your courage is commendable, it still comes down to strength. Since you insist on entering, all I can do is pray for your good fortune. Then, he thanked the teacher and immediately headed toward the portal to the Dungeon of Shadow Forests. Confident in his abilities, he thought to himself, come on, the great show is about to be staged. As he stepped into the portal, a notification appeared, congratulations, host, successfully entered your first dungeon, awarded 2,000 experience points. At the same time, Miss Mo, who was near the portal, noticed him and recognized him. Isn't this the kid I met at the black market yesterday? She thought to herself. From that moment on, Yiwu caught Miss Mo's attention. It wasn't just that he, a level 3, dared to venture into the black market, but he was also entering a dungeon populated by monsters ranging from level 5 to 10. She wanted to see just how far his courage would take him. Finally, Yiwu entered the Dungeon of Shadow Forest, landing seamlessly in the new environment. With his quick wits, he soon realized that the starting location within the dungeon was randomized, likely to prevent early skirmishes. However, this also made it easier for him to act independently. Wasting no time, he began swiftly clearing out the monsters in the surrounding area. Yiwu then started to eliminate every monster in his vicinity, earning a rain of +10 points repeatedly, each accompanied by bursts of fire that illuminated the dark forest. These points came from annihilating small packs of spider-like monsters, delivering them a barrage of explosive fire attacks one after the other. Soon after, he realized that this method was quite inefficient. Killing the monsters one by one was going to take more time than he had anticipated. If he wanted to win, he would need to hunt higher-level monsters. At that moment, he noticed a horde of spider-like monsters scattering in panic, running swiftly away from his relentless attacks. Intrigued as to where they could be headed, he decided to follow the fleeing creatures. Being cautious yet curious, he carefully trailed behind the horde of spiders. The spider horde led him deeper into the forest, and it was then that he discovered he had stumbled upon a spider monster nest. He saw a crimson spiderweb with a young girl trapped within it, surrounded by numerous unhatched eggs. Checking his information interface, Yiwu learned that the girl's name was Ruin Tian, a level 5 therapist. The girl slowly regained consciousness. Taking in the unfamiliar surroundings, she panicked, "Where am I?" Her memory quickly returned, recalling her capture by the spider monsters. As fear gripped her, she screamed for help. Suddenly, Yiwu appeared in front of her, quickly whispering, "Stay quiet if you want to survive." He landed on a branch near the spiderweb, adding, "If you keep screaming and attract more danger, I won't be able to help." Recognizing him, the girl's voice trembled. "Are you Yunfei's brother, Yiwu?" The girl's eyes widened in disbelief. "A level 3 entering a dungeon. Are you seeking death?" While she expressed her concerns, Yiwu was already examining the spiderweb that ensnared her, a determined look in his eyes. Noticing her doubt, he confidently said, "Isn't this just a level 8 elite spiderweb?" Without awaiting her reply, he ignited a flame, causing the spiderweb to burn rapidly, as if fueled by a hidden accelerant. In mere moments, the web turned to ash, freeing her. She stared in astonishment at the burnt remnants, murmuring, "Did you truly burn through a level 8 elite spiderweb? Am I actually safe?" Gratitude and disbelief were evident in her tone. After that, Yiwu gave her a sharp look and told her, "Leave this place and find your team. It's not safe for you to be alone." Momentarily, a liquid fell onto the left shoulder of his shirt. He looked at the liquid, realizing its corrosive nature. Tracing the source, he looked up, shocked to see the red spider monster named Red Widow had returned to its nest. The monster perched on the tree above them, its glowing eyes locked onto them. "What's wrong? What happened?" she asked, turning to him after noticing his peculiar reaction. Suddenly, the Red Widow spewed an enormous amount of liquid at them. Luckily, Yiwu was quick to react, pushing her aside and exclaiming, "Move. The liquid is poisonous." However, in their haste to avoid the attack, they fell into a trap set by the monster, finding themselves ensnared in an even larger spiderweb. Not long after, the spiderweb tightened around them, leaving no room to move. As Red Widow approached, her fear intensified. "This is the end. I'm going to be eaten," she exclaimed. "Stay calm," he whispered softly. "The web will tighten even more if we move." Yiwu pondered, suspecting if the Red Widow carried eggs within her. "Have I been fooled?" he thought. He realized that despite his increased strength, he still lacked the necessary combat experience. To their surprise, after a short while, the Red Widow turned away and did not feast on them. It left its prey, which left them both stunned. Ruintian felt a huge wave of relief, thinking they had been spared. She asked in wonder, "Why did the monster just leave? Are we not tasty?" Yiwu responded with a serious expression, revealing a bitter truth to her. "My suspicions are correct. The Red Widow typically lays its eggs inside the prey it captures. It will return once the eggs are fully grown." Her face turned pale as she processed his words. "What?" she exclaimed in disbelief. Overwhelmed by fear, she frantically screamed, "I don't want to give birth to its offspring." Yiwu felt a deep sense of dilemma. As the situation continued to unfold, he thought that if they remained in this state, something dire would surely happen. Because of the intimate distance between them, he knew he could forcefully unleash the power of the Emperor Qian flame. But that could harm her. Having no other choice, he began to bite at the web with his teeth, attempting to sever it. Yet, Ruintian misunderstood his actions. Her face flushed with embarrassment, she asked, "What are you doing? This isn't the time for such actions." Ignoring her misunderstanding, Yiwu continued trying to cut through the spiderweb with his teeth, urging her, "Stop letting your imagination run wild if you want to live and don't move." Trying to understand his intentions, she questioned, "So, what are you planning to do?" Lost in his focused effort to bite through the spiderweb, Yiwu didn't immediately respond. Meanwhile, he felt a momentary relief, realizing the fresh spiderweb wasn't poisonous to him. Since the web was newly spun, it hadn't yet solidified, giving them a brief chance. As he continued his attempts, the girl, affected by the movement, let out an unexpected sound. Hearing her, he shot her a quick glance, urging, "Try to stay calm and help me out. We need to get out of this before it hardens and traps us further." With a nod of understanding, Ryu and Tian began assisting Yiwu, both trying to bite through their restraints. The situation, while dire, also had an air of odd intimacy and awkwardness. Finally, they managed to free themselves from the spiderweb, landing safely on the ground. Ryu and Tian, overwhelmed with emotion, began to cry out of sheer relief. But Yiwu was quick to react. "Now's not the time to celebrate," he cautioned, urging her to get up and run as far away as possible. The situation worsened as the menacing roar of the Red Widow echoed nearby, its presence causing birds to take flight in a panicked frenzy towards them. Yiwu made a hand gesture towards her and ordered, "Go find your team. Leave this spider monster to me." Ryu and Tian seemed to think that Yiwu was putting on a brave front, trying to act the hero. She grabbed hold of his shirt and urgently spoke, "We should flee together. You're only level 3. While that spider monster is level 8. Flee." Yiwu replied with a cunning grin, his confidence unwavering. "I'm not here to be chased and run away. I'm here to hunt." With that, Yiwu summoned his fire ability. It was evident that he was deeply irritated from being ensnared and restricted. He needed to unleash his wrath upon the monster. The Red Widow had returned, positioning itself directly in front of them. Its roar was accompanied by an incredible aura and momentum, almost as if telling its prey they couldn't escape without its permission. Yet, Yiwu seemed unfazed. He had connected with his Emperor Qi account and was prepared to face off against the monster. He shot a piercing glance towards Ryu and Tian, silently conveying a single message: "Do not disturb me. Your choice, flee or stay." Ryu and Tian replied, telling him, "Allow me to stay here and take care of you. I am also a level 5 therapist." However, in her mind, the momentum Yiwu displayed was not something someone of level 3 would possess. Indeed, Yiwu was even able to withstand the pressure from an elite level 8 monster. This made Ryu and Tian wonder, did he have the ability to conceal his true level? He then began to unsheath his flaming sword and clenched his fist. Because the red spider was also a spider monster, he was filled with rage, recalling how the ghost-eye demon spider once harmed his family. Therefore, he directed his anger towards the monster before him. The Red Widow merely hissed, launching a vicious attack with its sharp and pointed legs, aiming right where Yiwu stood. However, with impressive reflexes, Yiwu evaded the attack by leaping into the air. He realized this monster couldn't speak and was far inferior to the ghost-eye demon spider. However, that didn't matter to him and was actually preferable. He didn't want to hear the pleading voices of his prey begging for mercy. As he thought this, he gripped his flaming sword with both hands, focusing all his energy into it. With a resounding shout of "Die!" he swung his flaming sword vertically. In a blink of an eye, the monster was cleaved into two, unable to withstand the power of the sword. The aftermath of the attack persisted, causing devastation to the forest for several meters around. Even though his attack had concluded, the residual energy from his flaming sword was palpable. Ryu and Tian, who witnessed the spectacle, was taken aback by the sheer power of the assault. She hadn't expected that Yiwu could actually defeat an elite level 8 monster. Her suspicions were confirmed. He indeed possessed the capability to conceal his true level. Following the demise of the Red Widow, Yiwu was awarded 1,000 points, while Ryu and Tian earned 500 points. Additionally, from the system, Yiwu received an extra kill reward of 5,000 experience points. After receiving the points, her eyes sparkled with curiosity. Why had she even received points when she hadn't contributed to the fight? This revelation invigorated her spirits. Seeing an opportunity for potential victory, she began to think of him as her ace in the hole. From that moment on, she stuck close to him, referring to him as the great god and bombarding him with questions about his capabilities. However, he remained unresponsive to her inquiries. Yiwu began gathering the spoils from the defeated monster, then turned to her and remarked, "Since you've earned points, it's only fair that I claim all these spoils. You have no objections, right?" Ryu and Tian replied without hesitation, "Of course not. All I want is for you to take me to the top." His focus shifted back to the loot spread out in front of him. Among the items, a particular red artifact caught his eye. Holding it up, he pondered its significance, thinking to himself that such a piece would be highly sought after in the black market and would sell quickly. However, shortly after he held it, the item named Red Widow's Fang suddenly emitted a golden glow. A notification popped up, stating that it had randomly been upgraded to Red Widow's Deadly Fang, now with effects of bleeding, poison, weakness, and a 3-use limit. This rare occurrence left him in awe, wondering, can the dropped items actually be upgraded temporarily? His thoughts then drifted to a ring he wore, a prize he had secured after defeating the Ghost Eye Demon Spider. Curious, he checked more about the ring's information. To his surprise, it was named Ring of Lucky, possessing the unique ability to randomly elevate the levels of items acquired. Realizing the remarkable capability of the ring brought immense joy to him. With such an accessory, he could possess extraordinary items, even if he currently had no clue about triggering its potential. Soon, footsteps approached from behind. Another team appeared, looking astonished to see Ruin Tian alive, and well, seemingly unharmed by the Red Widow. Both Yiwu and Ruin Tian turned to face the newcomers. They recognized the group immediately. Team Li Yong. Ruin Tian had once been a member before she was ousted by their leader, Li Yong, the man now donning a distinct red bandana. Ruin Tian's anger flared, and she pointed an accusing finger at them. She was furious for being used as bait, mere cannon fodder to attract the Red Widow, while her so-called team had fled in fear. Li Yong retorted, "You weren't worth saving." A man standing next to him observed the scene more closely, and said to Li Yong, "Something's off. The Red Widow appears to be dead." He moved closer to inspect the monster and exclaimed, "Look, it's charred and scorched." A look of shock crossed Li Yong's face. "What?" he uttered in disbelief. Li Yong looked at Ruin Tian with incredulity. "Don't tell me you did this," he questioned. Ruin Tian, puffing her chest out with pride, replied smugly, "What if I did?" She proudly declared, "I defeated the Red Widow after teaming up with the great god." She tried to embrace Yiwu's arm in a show of camaraderie, but he subtly lifted his hand away, denying the gesture. Of course, they found it hard to believe. After all, Yiwu was infamous at the academy for being utterly useless. How could he possibly defeat such a monster? They scoffed at Ruin Tian's reference to him as the great god. In their eyes, the foolish Ruin Tian and the worthless Yiwu were a match made in heaven. Hearing the insults hurled at Yiwu, Ruin Tian's fury reignited. "You can mock me all you want," she retorted, "but you have no right to disrespect the great god."